Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of council for the Township of Malahide on March 5th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:01. We'll begin the meeting with O Canada. Please stand.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. So next is the approval of the agenda. Any changes or additions? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have one I'd like to bring forward, some new news about our Malahide community policing.
Under announcements, Councillor Wilson?
I have one, I guess, community announcement, one personal announcement.
Okay. And Clerk Adams?
Yes, I'd just like to make an amendment to report clerk 2601 needs to be moved from section J, unfinished business, to section I, which is the consent. Which is the approval of a business consent agenda.
Okay, noted. Any other changes or additions? Seeing none, the resolution, please.
That the March 5th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be approved as presented with the following amendments. Report clerk 2601 moved from section J, unfinished business, to section I, consent agenda, approval of business, and announcements.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Serna moves, Councillor Lewis seconds. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you. One is under G, the Newell Drain, meeting to consider.
Thank you. Noted. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll proceed with announcements. Deputy Mayor?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We recently had one of our policing meetings, and we usually have an OPP come to our meeting with a report. And at our last meeting, we were told he's no longer allowed to bring reports. So I know you sit on the policing committee. This is a real shock. We've already had banners and things printed up and pens and booklets to hand out. We're not really supposed to be handing out the word police on them anymore. It's just ridiculous. None of this particular officer's looking into it. He's not happy at all because that was his point of coming to the meeting. We get a really good insight of what's happening in our community. Now we can't talk about it. We can't talk about anything. I mean, they talk about the word transparency, and it's just a word. Nobody does it anymore. And this is ridiculous. It's our local meeting, and it was really helpful to have all this information. But at this point, we're not allowed to do it, and it's going to cost us a lot of money because we already had our pens printed and our banners done, and even the local day we're going to have over at the in Springfield Hall, where it's kind of maybe in trouble too because he can't come and talk about a lot of things. So anyway, I just thought you should be aware of that, and it's probably a provincial mandate. But he was warned off about it, so now he has to sit there and.
Okay, I'm going to suggest that the committee write a letter to the board specifying what information they received and what the concern is, because yeah, that seems odd because I mean, the committees are supposed to be independent from the OPP. So there's nothing preventing, pens and, activities or workshops to be developed. But so yes, if they could write their concerns and deliver that to the detachment board for consideration, I think we can seek some clarification on that. Thank
Okay,
you.
let's see what we can do. I know they're already in the process. We're getting our banners redone. We can't be called Springfield Community Policing anymore. We have to be just called the Safety Committee. I think it's just ridiculous. But I didn't know if the board was aware of it at your level.
No, like I said, they're not connected. So that my understanding of those committees they're not an extension of the OPP. They're not an extension of the municipality. They are an independent, not-for-profit, but can be put together with support from the OPP, but they're self-funded and all of that. So that's a good opportunity to clarify the governance, and there may be something. So anyway, I think it sounds like something should be clarified. But and perhaps if the direction came from the OPP, then a good place to start is with the OPP detachment board to seek clarification on what is the status of those and where did the direction come from.
I know the officer is looking into it himself because he doesn't think it's right, but we'll see how far he can go. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Through Mayor, many people might already know about it, but bit of sad news for the community. The Point is going to be closing. So March 17th will be the last night. At least it's a fun one to go out on. Kudos to Mark and Don for the great service and place that they've had for the community. It's going to be greatly missed. And on a happier note, this St. Patty's will be my 25th anniversary of doing St. Patty's stuff. So anyway, it's I don't know, can I get a township whatever for that one? I am so kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And yes, it's always unfortunate to see a business having to close. It's running a restaurant is extremely challenging. So, but yeah, that definitely will be missed because even in a short time was enjoyed. So we'll wish them all the best. Was there anything else? No, I think that was it. Okay, so we'll proceed then with the adoption of minutes from our meeting on February 19th. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, the resolution, please.
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 19th, 2026 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Glinski seconds, all in favor. Motion is carried. This brings us to our public meetings. The first one is a meeting to consider the Newell Drain. And we have Mr. Barikin from Spreets Associates in person. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Your Worship. We are pleased to present our report tonight on the Newell Drain relocation. This was a 2022 request to improve the Newell Drain. Was the original request here. So what we did was we dug up the existing drain there. This is on the property that requested was on the northwest side of College and Walkers there. They requested to improve. They were having issues with blowouts in their field. So we did some investigation work there with the farmer there once they took their crops off, and we found that the municipal drain tile was in good working order. It was their private system that was having issues. So they repaired their private system using a contractor. At that time, they were unsure if they wished to proceed with a improvement of the existing system. The existing system was working. It was undersized by today's standards, but still in good working order. So ultimately, they ended up selling that parcel a year or two later, and then the new owner chose not to proceed. However, During that investigation work, we did learn that a newly constructed pole barn had been constructed over top of the drain. The building permit issued said that they were to locate the drain and be 5 meters off it. However, they did not follow through on that and ended up constructing their building over the system. So what we've done now is relocated that to the 5-meter setback that was required by their building permit. They've been assessed the cost to do that. The total cost of this project, including the report, is $18,000 approximately. And if there's any questions, I would welcome them through you.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Yeah, easier to move a drain than a barn. But yeah. If there are no questions, then we'll entertain the resolution, please.
That the engineer's report for the Newell Drain be accepted and that bylaw 26-13 being a bylaw to provide for the Newell Drain drainage works be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wilson moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And it's the scheduled.
And we'll also consider the resolution for scheduling the Court of Revision meeting, please.
That the Court of Revision for the Newell Drain be scheduled to be held on April 2nd, 2026 at 7 p.m.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All in favor? Motion is carried. Have a good evening. Next on the agenda is a public meeting that we will call to order with the resolution, please.
The council adjourns its regular meeting at 7:13 p.m. in order to convene in a public meeting under section 3412 of the Planning Act.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Deputy Mayor Widner seconds. All in favor? Motion is carried. So this is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to allow any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment relating to property known municipally as 48776 Jamestown Line. So Clerk Adams, can you let us know the method of notice and when was the notice given?
The public meeting was advertised in the Almer Express for 2 consecutive weeks on February 18th and 25th. Notices were mailed to affected property owners with 120 meters at least 20 days before the meeting, and the notice was also posted on the township website.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Steele, welcome. Can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if there were any comments received?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This application has been submitted as a result of condition of the previous consent application. The consent application was to sever a surplus farm dwelling, and as a requirement under provincial and local policy, the land is proposed rezoned to prohibit a new dwelling on the proposed retained parcel and rezone the proposed severed parcel to reflect its primary use as a rural residential lot. No comments were received from agencies or members of the public, and so staff would recommend the application be approved. And that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions from members of council.
Thank you for that. Now we'll check if there's anyone in attendance on Zoom. No? Okay, so no one wishes to speak. Any members of council have any questions? There were none. So with that, please be advised that any person wishing further information regarding the passing of the proposed bylaw amendment should contact the clerk. And for now, we can proceed with the adjournment of the meeting, please.
That the planning public meeting adjourn at 7:15 p.m. and council reconvene its regular meeting in order to continue with its deliberations.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wilson moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? The motion is carried. And now resolution for the consideration of the planner's report.
The report number DS 2609 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application D14Z02-26 of John Wenninger Co. Civic Planning Solutions relating to the property located at Concession 2, part of Lot 7, 48776 Jamestown Line be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z02-26 be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Glinsky seconds. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Steele. Next, delegations. We do not have any this evening, so this brings us to the consent agenda. So under the consent agenda, so yes, so now we have the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole. So the committee recommended that the new policy on community recognition program be approved by council. Can we consider the resolution for that?
Whereas at its February 19th, 2026 meeting, the Committee of the Whole recommended to Council item number A, be it resolved that Council adopts the above recommendation from the Committee of the Whole.
Okay, mover and seconder. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And the motion is carried. Okay. This brings us to new business. So the first item is the consent application. Mr. Steele, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. This consent application has been submitted for a proposed lot addition. The subject lands consist of a vacant farm parcel that was previously subject to a surplus farm dwelling consent. And the owner is proposing to sever approximately 1.8 acres of grassed area to the adjacent rural residential lot for the purpose of expanding the sort of yard space on that property. Provincial planning statement does permit lot boundary adjustments for legal or technical reasons within prime agriculture areas. Typically, these would include things like resolving encroachments or addressing matters such as providing additional area for failed septic services and those types of sort of legal or technical matters. It is noted that really these policies do discourage or further fragmentation of agriculture areas, and that at the time of the previous surplus farm servants, that those policies do direct that the minimum amount of land be taken away from the retained farm parcel to ensure maximum sort of flexibility or viability of these ag parcels. And so, in review of those planning policies, staff are working at the application not be supported. However, it is noted that while staff are making this recommendation, if Township Council should choose to support the application, staff have attached recommended conditions that would be provided to the Land Division Committee. And that concludes our presentation. I've had questions from members of council.
Thank you for that. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the time of the initial severance, because this fragment along the side is so inconsequential to the full parcel of farmland, why was it not considered at that time?
To you, Madam Mayor, I do not know what the date of the previous severance was, so I don't have the details of why the land commission was proposed as it was. I would assume that it would be based off of that's again the policies that direct the minimum amount of land be included on a surplus farm severance. That land wasn't considered to be necessary to support either the servants of the dwelling or the previous or the private septic system, and so that may be the purpose of why those lands were excluded from the previous severance.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll consider the resolution as recommended.
The report number DS 26-10 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E22-26 of Peter and Georgina Hendel, co. Eugenio de Mayo, relating to the property located at Concession 2, north part of lots 19 and 20, 0 Vienna line, roll number 3408-000-011-09000 be received, and that the application for consent to sever E22-26 not be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wilson moves. Councillor Leach seconds. Any further discussion or debate? Do you have a question?
Yes.
Councillor Glinski, go ahead.
Since that appears to be a very narrow piece of property, why are we really objecting? Because if you've ever driven a tractor with a big cultivator on behind it, uh, you can't get in there and make a turnaround and get back out. Only thing you can do is back in, I guess, and back out, which uh, destroys whatever you did accomplish by working the property. That's just my point of view.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious, if this was approved in the future, could they build a house on this, or could it be severed again for a separate lot, or I'm just curious, thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if it is, or the consent does proceed, the current zoning does not permit a second or a separate dwelling. The zoning bylaw does permit a secondary dwelling unit on the property. In terms of, or that is accessory to the primary dwelling unit. In terms of future severance, the policies currently in place do not permit residential lot creation within permaculture areas. However, that does not stop anyone from filing an application to propose such a severance, but it wouldn't be supported under provincial or local policy.
Thank you for that. Further questions or debate? Councillor Wilson?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just from the aerial photograph here, it doesn't really look like it's part of the farm at the present time anyway. Looks like it's cut grass with the rest of the lot.
Okay, any further comments? So the motion on the table right now is that the application be denied. We want to vote on that. Are we ready to vote, or are there further comments or questions? No further questions or comments. So all those in favor? All those opposed? So yeah, so it's a double negative. So the the motion was that the application be denied, and council is voting oppose. You are opposed to it being denied. So in other words, you would like it to proceed. You would like to approve this application and send it to Land Division. Was that the correct intent of the vote? I mean, can we proceed? Can it go to Land Division with that?
Does everyone understand? If you're voting, yes, it's saying that you're not supporting. If you're
Right.
voting no, you are supporting it
Right.
to Land Division.
Right.
Yes, it goes to Land Division. We're saying, let's try it.
So if you vote in, let me just try that again. So if you vote and if you voted in favor, if you were to vote in favor, then this would be denied. Because what we put on the table is that this not be supported. And if you voted opposed, then that means you're opposed to the recommendation of saying no. So in other words, you would like to say yes. And you would like to to ask Land Division to, and that's your recommendation, that it actually be considered by Land Division. I mean, it's still going to be considered by Land Division, but that your wish is that it be approved. Because we have to, council. So the procedure is such that council is asked to state its opinion and to send its opinion to Land Division. So we have to take a position one way or another. So now,
Opposed to recommendation.
so you are opposed to it being denied. That is the vote that I saw by the show of hands. All right?
Want to do it again?
Okay. Okay, so thank you for that. So the next report is a similar application. So Mr. Steele, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is a similar consent application for a lot addition to serve approximately 0.4 acres of the subject lands, which consists of a vacant farm parcel that also was subject to a previous surplus farm consent, and to add it to an adjacent rural residential property. The land contains an existing storage building that is being rented by the owners of the adjacent parcel that are to purchase the proposed severed land. And for similar reasons, just based off of provincial planning statement, permits again lot additions for legal or technical reasons, that the sort of further expansion of the rural residential lot would not fit that criteria. And so staff recommend the application not be supported. Again, if Township's Council does support the application, that staff have attached recommended conditions to be forwarded to Land Division Committee for its consideration. And that concludes my presentation. Happy questions from members of council.
Okay, so before we table a motion, we'll entertain all your questions and comments, if there are any. Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a question. The barn is being then added to the residential lot, is that correct?
Through Madam Mayor, that's correct. The current existing agricultural storage building would be conveyed to the residential parcel.
So the use of the barn is not going to change. It's just going to be owned by the residential land owner. Is that correct?
Through Madam Mayor, that is correct.
And third question, how many feet distance between the other barn to the west? Do we know that? Is there enough setback that it's legal? I just don't know.
Through Madam Mayor, I do not know the answer of what the setback is between those two buildings.
Okay, thank you. I know sometimes insurance companies will not insure buildings that are that close together. I found that out in my own situation, so something to be cognizant of. I don't know if we care at this point, but we would get more tax money out of the barn being attached to the residential use, I presume, and then we went off the farm. So, and if it's already being used that way, nothing's really changing. No farmland's leaving, but just some observations. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Since we got good practice on the last one, we'll just keep it in the same way. We won't mix things up. So we'll consider the resolution as proposed by staff. Go ahead.
The report number DS 26-11 entitled Application for Consent to Sever E24-26 of Joseph Edward Derico Eugenio de Mayo relating to the property located at Concession 5, part of Lot 18, RP 11R 9638 in the Township of Malahide, 50618 John Wise Line be received, and that the application for consent to sever E24-26 not be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Okay, so I'll ask for a mover and seconder. Councillor Cerna moved, Councillor Glinski seconds that. So those in favor of denying the application? Okay. So now those opposed to the recommendation from staff? And that is carried. Thank you. Practice makes perfect.
Pardon me, Madam Mayor. I would just seek clarity from the clerk. Is a
Yes.
resolution required for a different resolution that provides direction that Township Council does support the applications?
So, Mr. Steele, so thank you for that suggestion. So we were just clarifying here, since the council, Malahide is not the final decision maker, we will let the record show for land division that there was a recommendation from to not approve. So that will show as the record, and then the record will also show to land division that council did not agree with that recommendation. So they will see both sides. Is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify that just because we do provide comments to the counties, so just to ensure that what we do provide is an accurate reflection of what Township Council has approved today.
Great. Okay, so thank you for asking. Okay, so I'm just looking at the rest of the agenda, Mr. Steele, just to see there were no other items. So thank you again for your contribution this evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, so the next item is a report on the 2025 council remuneration and expenses. Oh. CEO Diaz, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is provided annually in accordance with Sections 283 and 284 of the Municipal Act. The Act requires the Treasurer to provide Council by March 31st of each year with an itemized statement of remuneration and expenses paid to Council members and appointed board members in the previous year. Council remuneration is established through Bylaw 2074 and mileage reimbursements following the Canada Revenue Agency per kilometer rate under Policy A09 HRMD 1.3. Council remuneration for 2025 reflects a 2.4% increase consistent with the municipality's salary philosophy and administration policy. The detailed statement is attached to the report for Council's information. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, resolution, please.
The report number FIN-26-03 entitled 2025 Council Remuneration and Expenses be received.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Lewis moves, Councilor Wilson seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, this brings us to the next section of reports, starting with the 2025 Malahide Wastewater Collection System Annual Performance Report. Director Gompey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Council. Report PW 2605 is our annual performance report on the wastewater collection system that is operating here in the village of Springfield. That includes the entire gravity collection system within the village streets itself, the Springfield pump station and force main, which pumps down to the Ontario Police College, as well as the Ontario Police College pumping station, which is a Malahide-owned asset. Essentially, we didn't have anything too exciting to report. Operations went pretty well. The one thing of note that anyone might have picked up on is that in 2025, we had a 16.9% decrease in flows over 2024. And really the major factor in that decrease in flow is primarily related to 2024 being a wetter year where we know we had a higher rates of inflow or infiltration into the collection system. The flow rate, we had 88,000 cubic meters of flow in 2025. That is more in line with our historical values over years, which is actually something that we could add to these reports in the future, is maybe a little longer term trending to help make a little more sense of some of these things. But that is really the biggest thing that we have noted. On that note of inflow and infiltration, staff, the report notes that we did complete our phase 3 sewer monitoring, where we do the actual camera work up each of the gravity collection system, the legs of sewers that are laid in the streets. And we take video and do condition assessment and look for any sources or anything out of the normal that may exist for future follow-up. Now that we've done that, that means we've completed the entire village over the past 3 years. We will be taking that data and looking at it more, continually trying to see if we can maybe pinpoint some more of these sources of infiltration. That being said, it is a bit of an interesting predicament that we're in when you think about higher flows due to inflow or being related to connections where water is perhaps being pumped into the system where it shouldn't be. The process of tracking that down can be very cumbersome. It can become very costly. Where we currently sit, we're in a bit of a quandary of we can spend a bunch of money trying to chase these things down at this time, or we can spend a little bit less money and just treat it at the treatment facility. Where this can become problematic is not so much now, but as the village may grow and we reach closer to our capacity limits for wastewater treatment, this may become a more significant issue. So at this time, staff's plan is to try and continue to dig in as much as we can internally to try and source some of these locations without getting into a full-blown program, which will run into additional operating costs to try and track this down. So it is something that is on our radar still. And hopefully by the time we're here next year, looking at a 2027 budget, you may or may not see some request for additional investigations at that point. But staff are going to take this time through 2026 to digest some of this information that we've got from our latest video work and see what we can find out there. So outside of that, the system is operating very well. The pipe network is in very good condition. We've had a few new connections across the village that have gone pretty well. And the operating authority is not flagging any significant concerns within the distributor, within the collection system, or within the pump stations or force mains at this time. So with that, if there's any questions, I will happily answer.
Questions or comments? Councilor Leach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I noticed that there was, as in past years, a problem with fats collecting in the system. Is there a way to determine which portion of the system is the biggest offender for which of the solids?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Leach. It's a great question. Yes, the short answer is yes, there is a way. It typically involves having to get some online sampling done. So what we would do is we would kind of compartmentalize or break down the collection system and do some fats, oils, and grease sampling at various locations and at various times to try and see if there's a trend of, it coming from this one particular area. We're detecting that there is more fats, oil, and greases. Sometimes you do get lucky, and well, I say lucky, but you get lucky and you see it in the pipes, and you can kind of trace it upstream. We're not finding that So it's not necessarily that it's a single point producer that is causing concerns within the Springfield system. It's more of a just a general education bit about fats, oils, and greases and how you could dispose of them on an alternative way rather than putting them down the drain. With that, we did send out some correspondence, I believe it was last fall, that went out kind of relating to FOG, we call it, fats, oils, and greases, that would hopefully help educate the homeowners and business owners on things that they can do to help prevent that. You may have noted the Ontario Police College is one where we've had evidence of higher concentrations of fats, oils, and greases entering the station. As we were noting that coming from their collection system, we have been working actively with staff at the OPC to ensure that their grease interceptors are being cleaned and maintained on an increased frequency. A lot of that is due to higher than typical enrollment rates at the school, which has meant we actually discovered through this that they were cooking, I believe it was a third breakfast shift. So with that, you think about that, if you went from 2 to 3, it's 50% increase. So I think that it's kind of curbed a little bit since we had these first observations and have discussed it with them. They've been doing a better job of maintaining the infrastructure on their side, but it is something we will continue to monitor.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through to Jason. Jason, I'm reading a lot of generator problems. Is this thing getting old, or is it just a lot of glitches, or what is the score on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, it was a combination of minor-ish issues at the generator that was the crux of our concerns. I think it was mainly due to the fact that it wasn't being tested and maintained to the full gamut that it should have been. We've since identified that and are looking at getting it on a more regular, robust testing. Like you can test under load versus you can test just, you press the button and make sure that it fires up. So we have been looking to implement a more robust load testing program on this and all of our generators, just to make sure that we don't have issues, and if we do, that we can identify them and get the appropriate repairs or capital works planned.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like a lot of technology sometimes doesn't always work as well as it probably should.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll receive the report.
The report number PW 2605 entitled Malahide Wastewater Collection System Annual Performance Report be received.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Next, we have a number of reports related to the Malahide Water Distribution System. You want to speak to all of them at once, and I believe we need, we will need separate resolutions, but just for the discussion presentation purposes, feel free to speak to all of them.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, as you mentioned, we have 3 individual staff reports here. They're all relating to water. 2 of them are regulatory compliance reports. One of them is mainly just a standardized update report that we bring. So I can kind of hit the highlights of everything because there is a bit of information duplication happening here, but we can kind of cover that off. So report PW 2606 of the Malahide Water Distribution System, 2025 section 11 annual report and schedule 22 summary report is a regulatory update that is required to be provided to council. These Section 11 report, you may have recalled receiving an email from Sam about a week or so ago containing that. And the reason for that is just with the timing of council scheduling and report preparation, we have an obligation in order to present that or to provide that information to the water system owner, being council, prior to February 28th of each calendar year. The Schedule 22 report is required to be provided by the end of March. So this meeting is kind of meeting that requirement. The email met the other one, but in the interest of publicly sharing the information, we want to have it published as a staff report for all to be able to find. So that is the purpose of PW 2606. It is just the high-level highlight of flows and chemical analysis on the operation of our systems. PW 2607 is our fourth quarter operations report, which we receive for a year. We usually bring each one of these quarterly operations reports to council as information. That is kind of a more detailed highlight of the work that Aqua has been completing on our behalf in the operation and maintenance of our systems. And finally, the PW 2608 is the 2025 Drinking Water Quality Trends and Management Review of the Drinking Water Quality Management System Operational Plan. This one is another regulatory compliance report. If you really boil it down, it is the one time a year where the management of a water system is required to report to the owner of the water system, being council, that we have at least sat down as a high level senior management team and discussed operational issues or concerns, growing trends, all the things that could potentially affect the future of the water system. So I'm pleased to be able to sit here and say we can summarize this down to the point that staff are confirming to council that we believe the resources allocated by council is sufficient to properly operate and maintain the drinking water systems in Malahide. And that is ultimately the overarching end goal of this legislated piece, is to make sure that operational authorities are properly communicating their needs and their concerns to the owners, being council. So that is the purpose of those three reports and all the intensive data that they contain. One thing that of note is, if you wanted to dig into some of the details, you may have noticed significant fluctuations in some of the volumes that were of metered water in and around the Port Bruce area. There's a couple of factors that have contributed to that. The first being we were having some issues with one of the water meters down there. So it needed to be removed, and we did some estimations of flows for a period of time where you can calculate some of it using all of the downstream meters and then do some mathematics to add these numbers together and move it from this one. So that is going to be partially responsible for some of the variation in flows that you would notice down there. The other one was that we had done some maintenance on two of the main pressure relief valves that are down in Port Bruce. So what that'll do is, the way the pressure relief valve works is, it is set to only open to a certain flow rate. And if the pressure is too high, it'll actually close the valve to a degree, which will then alter the way in which the water is flowing in and through the system. We do this as more of a protective measure because, Port Bruce is, the water main's coming down the hill and it's kind of in the bowl at the bottom. So in order to make sure that that head pressure from the mains and in the water system itself doesn't start blowing up services or mains or people's private plumbing within their house, we've got it set to provide pressure reduction for the village so that you're not operating at 120 pounds coming out of your shower. I don't think anybody wants to be that clean. But what we were finding is the fine tuning of that was causing the system to react differently. We did some maintenance on a one PRV, and by adjusting it, it would redirect flow in a different manner through the system. So that is one of the biggest reasons why we've seen these fluctuations over our metered water zones. However, overall, we're pretty much in line with our historical overall water consumptions. So if there's any other questions or anything else you'd like to discuss about this pile of data, we are happy to discuss it further.
Thank you for that. We'll open it up for comments and questions. Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank you and Sam and Aqua for managing this system and having a overwhelmingly positive report.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Leach. You stole my last point that I had when I was waiting for it. To say thanks to Sam and the team at Aqua. You know, they do a great job. Their diligent attention to the safe operation maintenance of our systems is definitely a benefit to all of our water and wastewater customers. You know, these reports are about the water, but the wastewater side is very important as well. And without their efforts, you know, we could be experiencing much more challenges than we do.
Yes. Please pass along our council's remarks as well, because that's, yeah, obviously very, very important and appreciated and easy to take for granted when everything's working well. Any further questions or comments? If not, the resolution.
So the first resolution is that report number PW 2606 entitled Malahide Water Distribution System 2025 Section 11 Annual Report and Schedule 22 Summary Report be received.
Mover and seconder for that one. Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? The motion is carried. The next one.
The report number PW 2607 entitled Malahide Water Distribution System Fourth Quarter 2025 Operations Report be received.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councillor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And the last one.
The report number PW 2608 entitled Malahide Water Distribution 2025 Drinking Water Quality Trends and Management Review of DWQMS Operational Plan be received.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Wilson moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All those in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Godby, and again, thank you to your team. Which takes us to bylaws, which we can consider with one resolution, all four.
That the following bylaws be now read a first and second time, 26-13 Newell Drain, and that the following bylaw now be read a third time and finally passed, 2606 Tenor rezoning, and that the following bylaw be now read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, 26-11 Wenninger rezoning, and 26-12 Health and Safety Water Stream Transfer Payment Agreement.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And there's no business for the committee of the whole, so that takes us directly to correspondence. There are 15 items. Any comments, questions? Deputy Mayor Whitner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have three I'd like to discuss. First one's number 5. EPCOR wants to increase the cost to $34 to everybody in Malahide, but I see we're already in Malahide and other places. We're already too late. We have to put our correspondence back by March 4th, 2026. So we're really, but, huh? No, it was the 5th when I looked. Anyway, it's okay. Anyway, I just don't see $34. We already pay enough for gas in this area, so it's a little bit of a hit, and I think they could find better efficiencies, but that's just my opinion on that. Thank you. And then number 11, the County of Peterborough support for school bus safety and stop arm cameras. I would support that. There's been too many of these going on. There's the figure they gave out for the amount of cars that do pass buses illegally is staggering. It's really bad. My opinion, they need to really increase the fines, make it like stunt driving or drunk driving, or make it really tough. So you're going to get caught, you're going to lose hard. I would support that. And then number 16, the notice of study commencement planning, preliminary design and class environmental assessment, Highway 3 from St. Thomas to Aylmer. Had a lot of concerns brought to me about this. And I know it was there before. They can maybe go the old route, but everybody talks about preserving farmland. Well, what's that going to do to our farmland when they bring from St. Thomas to Aylmer? Wipe out probably 4 lanes. And also our local roads, if it happens to be 4 lanes, a lot of our side roads would be blocked. They would just close them off, like Penn Hill Road, which is natural, Rogers Road. What are you going to do at 74? What are you going to do at north of Aylmer? Are you going to put an overpass in, or? So there's a lot of things should be discussed. That and the, going through farms, going through woods. They've already shown they don't care about woodlots and farmlands. So I think any chance we can get to put our opinion in, there's going to be lots of time for community involvement. I think we need to make sure we know what we feel about that and pass that along accordingly, because they can take it and they don't pay anything for it either. They just pay very minimal. So we've already seen what's happened to other places. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so for number 16 for now is just a
Information, basically.
like notice for everybody to pay attention to, because yeah, that's just the beginning of the study, but the others are for support. Okay. Councillor Cerna?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At the EECC Board of Management, I can't remember what day it was. I went into the meeting, I wore different hats, as everybody was aware of. That wasn't a joke. I was trying to send a message to our counterparts, and it's very frustrating to go to those meetings anymore, at least for me, because I feel that every time I go there, we get thwarted. Our job at the EECC is to do what's best for the EECC. And that hat I had made up was because that's the hat we should wear there. And as co-chair, I'm going to ask you to try to prod our counterparts along so that they can go on Saturday to the same place I went and get a hat made just like I did, so that when we go to those meetings, that they wear that hat. Because I'm tired of them putting off, pushing off, delaying, and things like that. At that one meeting, you made a motion about the county and the library. I seconded it. And at the following meeting, your counterpart is talking about some watered down motion and saying, oh, it could have been the museum or something. How in the hell did that come apart? We're talking about a library. Kurt Barron's made a presentation about the library. In the following meeting, we're talking about a museum, or it could have been something else. That was his quote. And it just, they didn't want to pay the $10,000. They don't want to pay this.
Councillor Cerna, I'm going to ask you to comment only on the minutes from
I am, because these were in the minutes.
November 26th. Okay. So
These,
just,
these were in the minutes.
but those delegations were from an October meeting and,
No, they were in the
okay.
November
so-
26th meeting and the February 11th meeting.
So any,
I'm just saying that this crap has got to stop and we got to do the best for the community complex. And wherever the library goes, it goes. It's not going to be decided by politicians. It's going to be decided by the people of Elmer,
so,
and they got to stop all this pissing
yeah,
around.
so.
Thank you. I'm
so
done.
Gonna, yeah. I'm gonna ask you to recall those words just to make sure we maintain proper.
Can't say it, I should have retracted it. I'm sorry? What did I say wrong?
I think there was maybe the point of these item is not for council to express an opinion. They're there for information. So I would appreciate if you would retract the quality, the way you described what is happening or what transpired from the minutes. There was a, like the minutes show and the records show that there was a full majority vote in agreement for the decisions to continue further down the road. So can I ask you to just retract those comments and say that you didn't mean to express your own opinion on what transpired by the board?
Okay, so do I say I'm sorry they didn't pay the 10,000 until we forced them? Or I'm sorry they deferred this, or I'm
Or
sorry.
just retract maybe specific word.
Pissing around?
So maybe 2 words. So that. Anyway, I think suffice to say that I would prefer that we keep the comments to,
I'm thinking what I said was factual and it happened, so. Whatever, if
But
I
it was-
said
it
something to
was-
offend somebody, I'm sorry.
Yes.
How's that?
so thank you for that.
Okay.
Because like I said, these minutes are here to receive as information for council, and not necessarily to expand on the discussion or opine on the discussion. So we have to be very mindful of that and also of the language we're using. So thank you for that. Any other items that need to be addressed? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to support number 14. It's from Township of Puslinch, but it's from Magnanawan. And basically they were excluded from getting some of the provincial grants because they're on rural infrastructure. And since they weren't on a pipeline or a sewer system, the province didn't know what to do with that for the grant application, so they were denied. Well, just because you're rural doesn't mean you shouldn't qualify for provincial grants. Just because you're on a well instead of a pipeline, just because you're on a septic system instead of a sewer system. It's rural discrimination, and I'd like to stand up for that. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Gobby also wanted to speak to number 8, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, I jump back to number 16 quick first, in follow-up to the deputy mayor's comments, just to advise staff and anyone who's listening that staff at Malahide have responded already. We are on the distribution lists for all the information that is coming out of this environmental assessment process. So we have our eyes on it. This, as the deputy mayor noted, this is the very starting point of this process. It is a long and it will be a public process. So as information comes in, we will be reviewing it and reporting back to council as required through this whole process. There are many concerns potential concerns, not to say that all of them will come to fruition, but things that we know we need to pay attention to. The impacts on our roads, the impacts potential on the Elmer area secondary water system, which is currently within the existing highway corridor. And any of those types of things we are watching. And thank you. The second item was number 8, the North Shore Resilience Group. As council may be aware, this North Shore Resiliency Group is continuing to do their work analyzing the littoral cell from Port Glasgow down to Long Point. They've been doing over the past year and a half some extensive technical research and have been in the process of finalizing some of that technical data and some of those results of things that they have found. They are doing a second round of public open houses. The first on March 24th at Bird Studies Canada in Port Rowan. 2 sessions, 3 to 5 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. On the 25th at the Port Stanley Arena, 2 to 4 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m. And on the 26th at the Rodney Community Center, 2 to 4 and 6 to 8. We encourage anybody who has an interest, any of the potentially affected landowners, to come out. They will be going over some of these technical results and kind of getting that data out for everyone to see what they have been up to. This fall, they will be coming back looking to start the phase 2 of their project. So that kind of the technical reporting that they've done to now will potentially feed into whatever scope of work they're going to be looking for as a phase 2 of this project. So lots of information to be shared for those that are interested. And now's a good time to get in there and see what the working group, the technical advisory committee, and the public advisory committee have all been up to. Thank you.
Thank you for that. A couple questions I received on that is, so is the format the same as the first round, or will there be like a presentation of those reports, or is it just like guided tour through boards, or is there an actual presentation because it may affect the time that people need to attend? So do you know anything about that?
Unfortunately, I don't know the specifics of how they were laying it out. It was my understanding that it was going to be the open house style, same as last time, without a formal sit-down presentation. However, that is something that I could definitely get confirmed prior to our next council meeting on the 19th. We can get that out in advance of the 24th.
And any of those reports, if people are unable to attend those sessions, any of those reports would still be available, right? I guess it's posted somewhere.
Yes, I believe that most of the data will be posted on the North Shore website. However, I believe that the technical studies have not been finalized as of yet, and that the technical advisory group, which is all of the geoscientists, they are still in the process of completing the peer reviews of the work that has been done. So I don't believe that it's been published as of yet.
But ultimately, if anyone's unable to attend the sessions, it can still get the information some other way. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Okay, I think that covers everything. We have a resolution for all that.
The items number 11 and 14 be supported and the remaining items be noted and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Widner moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And now we're ready to move in closed session, please.
The council move into closed session at 8:12 p.m. pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act as amended to discuss the following closed meeting minutes of February 5th, 2026, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Verbal update report on Elmer Settlement Area Boundary Adjustment, section 239(2)(f).
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, welcome back. And we're ready to come out of closed session, please.
The council move out of closed session and reconvene at 8:29 in order to continue with its deliberations, and that the February 5th, 2026 closed meeting minutes be adopted, and that there's nothing further to report.
Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Glinski moves, Councilor Leach seconds, all in favor. Motion is carried. And now for confirmatory bylaw, please.
That bylaw number 26-14 being a confirmatory bylaw be given first, second, and third reading and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder. Councilor Leach moves, Councilor Wilson seconds, all in favor. Motion is carried. And adjournment.
The council adjourns its meeting at 8:30 p.m. to meet again on March 19th, 2026 at 7 p.m.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councilor Cerna seconds, all in favor. Motion is carried. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.